June 24th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Roll call, please.
It's 5:13
p.m.
Mayor Litchfield,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis,
Here.
Commissioner Moya,
Here.
Commissioner Villanueva, Commissioner Arias.
Here.
Okay. Number one on our agenda today, discussion items regarding recreational marijuana. I'm going to turn that over to Mayor Pro Tem Duplantis.
Thank you. We had a really productive meeting again last night. We keep getting more and more people involved. Very appreciative. If there's people wanting to come to the meeting and I don't get a hold of them sometimes because I've had the information to reach out in the time frame that I've got myself allotted for. First thing that we discussed, and we discussed it last time in the work session as well, and we all feel that we've got to at least get a vote on this so we can let these investors know our intentions, and that is with the zoning. And those that were at the meeting last night, if y'all want to interject, please do, just in case I missed something. I want to make sure we get this all. We feel that we should have something that states that the commercial areas are valid enough as long as it's subject to the state statute. Because even right now, the statutes have been changing. They've not hammered that down, but the longer we wait, the more difficult it's going to be later. I highly recommend we get a vote in the very, very near future. So this, one thing with this is they can't lease the property, they can't rent the property, they got to buy the property.
Oh, okay.
So they have to be owners of their properties to open these things up. And if we're not giving them the ample time, we may end up losing some opportunities here. Again, what we're looking at is the C1 district or the commercial areas, utilizing those, but going with the subject to the state statute. You can't just open a bar in a commercial area. You have a statute that you have to go by, and we feel that this is the right thing to do. That way, if the state changes the statute on us, we can still do what we're doing and stay within our legal rights to take care of our community.
Actually, what your point of clarification is that you're saying we will go with what the state is mandating on the
Yes.
distance from whether it be a school or children or a park or whatever. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I know that we were using the liquor thing, but it might not be that. They
Yes.
might have their own specs.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want a point of clarification.
And to go on with that, that is also the understanding that if they do want to put something up in one of those spots, and I'm going to use Bubbles or the Old Hardee's, if somebody wants to use that, it's not to say they can't apply for a license for those, but they have to go through the proper variances and everything else. And it actually comes down to whether the state says yes or no. We can vote it and say yes, but the state can turn it down. So, or we can turn it down, but they can still go through that process if it's in one of those, just like, some restaurants can do that. But that's just so, I think as long as we put in there that it's subject to the state statutes concerning cannabis, I think we'll be okay. I don't think we have anything to worry about when it comes to, legality.
It certainly sounds like a fair process.
Yeah, we've got to get, there's people lining up right now, and I think, they can always go out and start setting up in the county, and then we get nothing out of it.
That's correct.
So I think we should, my suggestion is the earliest chance possible we vote on that so the people can see our intentions. Whether it's a unanimous vote or not, I think these investors, and there are several of them, need to know what our intentions are as a community and as a municipality.
Has the state at all released any further information?
They have released some information, but nothing's set in stone, and it's changed. Some of it's changed. I think they're learning as they go, just like they're kind of, in my opinion, I think they're doing kind of what we're doing right now. We're getting some citizens together, and we're trying to get their views, knowing that this is going to happen. And I think that's basically because they've tossed it out to the municipalities, but on the same note, they're also trying to set up guidelines for us to follow. So I hope, at least it's nice that they're not rushing into setting something up that may end up hindering the state of New Mexico. They've actually got some things that when it comes down to, say, I hate to competition and the legalization of cannabis with Colorado, we've actually got some favors for us.
Yeah.
There's things that we're gonna, the state of New Mexico is gonna be able to do that Colorado doesn't do. One is, how much they can purchase at one time. Another is the smoking lounges. Those are, things that are not quite being utilized right now in the other states, and some of it's not even legal. And this is, some places that we can actually take advantage of. Do I have any questions on that part? I know we've been beating zoning up since April, I think. And at first we were trying to make it just right. And I think at the end of the day, leaving it to the state statute is the best way to go. And, of course, we want to encourage everybody to.
And actually what we're doing is really, point of clarification is that we are allowing a dispensary or whatever the state allows in the commercial zone area in the community of Tucumcari. And also there's another part to it, and that is on the industrial area that can be growers area. So that's what we talked about last night, correct me if I'm wrong. So there's two things we want to clarify so people to understand, and that is that the commercial, the C2 is eligible to put a dispensary as long as it's zoned that way. And the I1, which is industrial, it can do the greenhouses and what's called the manufacturing part.
Yeah.
So it's very parallel to the state and what the state's gonna come out with depending on the license.
Yeah, and we still have a lot of things we've got to cover through a lot, but the zoning, I think it's very important we get that out there.
The key.
Yes.
Have you had the conversation of allowing former houses, especially along the southern portions of First Street, as businesses? Has that conversation
Remember,
happened?
they also have the right to protest.
Yes.
And if we feel that the protest is pretty heavy because it's really, really residential, like the whole block and stuff like that, then they'll have to come before the council on us. And so that's where we can then put the limitation on the permit.
First Street and parts of Second Street are the most touchy right now because of the residential houses we have on there, even though they're zoned commercial. So we discussed it. We didn't hammer nothing down because, it just, you get in a patchwork and pretty soon it gets really confusing for everybody.
What we wanted to do was be very careful that we don't do checkerboard zoning, which is really hard to do. I mean, all of a sudden you say, well, how come across the street you allow that to have it, but not here where I am? And then it's really hard to explain and also control when you have checkerboard zoning. So we use a one standard of type of zoning.
On that, to make it an action item on the next agenda, is 2 weeks quick enough, or do we need to meet sooner to get this done?
I think 2 weeks would be enough because actually the rules and regulation will be out on the 1st of September. And I think, and it's up to the investor to, if we given a clear definition how we're doing it and they want to purchase the property, we're not liable because we gave the okay. Now it's up to them to make sure that they comply with the state regulation because state supersedes municipality anyway.
Okay.
So you're requesting a vote or an action item that would just allow the investors to know what our intentions are.
We all either agree or however the
Or
vote would
disagree,
go.
but yeah.
That,
whatever you vote, so.
On where we would like the zoning for the legalization, the sale of cannabis. Mark, did you have a question? I thought you were gonna say something.
I was just in regards to the zoning, so you're talking about kind of the existing allowances right now for C1, C2, and I1. Those already as they stand would allow either for some kind of agricultural growth, some kind of distribution dispensary, retail. So yeah, I'm comfortable with that because that makes a lot more sense than, like I said, trying to do some spot zoning. That could set us up for potential lawsuits in the future.
And again, we'll have the state statute to fall back on if it gets into like the situation with the brewery that was gonna be a Crescent Creamery. They've got statutes set up for things.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
there's nothing we can do because that's,
So this will allow dispensaries south of the boulevard, right? Okay.
Yes. The next, we noticed, I believe Scott was at Roswell, y'all said, Ruidoso. We got a survey that we're gonna be sending out, hopefully, is it this weekend?
I think Tuesday to make sure that the
Tuesday?
chamber lists are up to date with
Okay.
emails. Yeah.
It's gonna be going out to the business owners and trying to get, some ideas from the business owners, what, is gonna be too far over the line, what could be just right, because, when it comes to the smoking lounges, it's kind of almost down the middle, because can they have a patio, or is it just gonna be stuck inside, things of that nature. And it's just gonna be a certain, Rio Doso did it, and, for a large part, they showed a lot of favoritism for everything. We would like to get an idea from our business owners, okay, and the reason we say business owners is, dispensaries are gonna be next to other business
Well,
owners.
that's what's gonna be more impact.
Yes.
What we'd like to be able to do is get a feedback
Yes,
so that we understand the feeling and what we're, what they're gonna want from us as the representative on the council.
yes. So I just want to give y'all a heads up on that. For the ordinance that we were looking at, we dug up the Route 66 overlay zone. I printed up today, but I have to give the credit to Scott and Connie. They said they didn't have a whole lot of time, or they have a lot of time today, so they printed up some good information. And in a lot of cases, we've been discussing a lot of stuff on like the railroad cars and how they're gonna have their buildings and stuff. We actually already have something in place, but we gotta, I guess, revive it. Is that what you had said to me? We've gotta revive it and basically make it active, and then we can amend it. And it's only really a small amendment in there, that instead of going through the process of writing a whole big ordinance just for this specific, we can actually utilize this one. That's the Route 66 overlay. Now, several things that has to be done, because we found out this morning that the downtown doesn't have anything to protect it, only Route 66. So we need to actually stretch this out to where it covers basically the whole community. We don't want the different stuff coming in. On it, the purpose of it and intent, the Route 66 overlay zone is intended to provide standards and guidance for development, preservation, and/or restoration of the commercial areas adjacent to historic Route 66. It is desirable to restore the area to similar patterns and styles of development as existed prior to the construction of Interstate 40. The use of retro architectural styles and features are intended to provide a catalyst for increasing tourism resulting from renewed interest in Route 66. Now, reading that's really nice, but Commissioner Moya pointed out something. Unfortunately, we've had 2 brand new buildings come in over the last 10, 15 years that aren't
Compliant.
they basically don't comply. They're very nice looking buildings. I think they present themselves to Route 66, professionally. But that is one thing, this would basically, if we revive it, grandfathers them in. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Because
So it
we
would
never
affect that.
enforced it, first of
Yes.
all. And the other thing, what we're gonna do, if you want to, this might be a suggestion to you, Commissioner Duplantis and the committee here, is the fact is, what we can do an addendum that would include outside Route 66. And that way we wouldn't have to rewrite a whole new ordinance for everything. And in that addendum, we can also put in that we will not allow any type of boxcars or whatever you call
Well, I've got something for that.
Oh, good.
Thanks to some wonderful research some people did today. I just haven't got that far
Okay,
yet.
Okay, so if you got something, we don't need to add to the addendum on that.
Also, we highlighted the design and architectural standards and like I said, this is for the Route 66 overlay, so we've got it. This is a good guideline,
Yeah.
and this can save us a whole lot of time. The architectural style, all new buildings and buildings that undergo substantial exterior renovation should be constructed in an Art Deco, Pueblo Deco, or tourist quiche style consistent with historical development that occurred along Route 66 before Interstate 40 was constructed. Unique, eclectic buildings are encouraged. Numerous examples can be found in historical photos found on the internet or in books. Neon highlighting, where feasible and architecturally sensible, exposed and/or hidden neon lighting should be used to highlight the building architectural features and freestanding signage. Neon lighting shall be shielded or positioned to prevent light and glare from significantly nearby residential areas. This again is a way that if we're going to have somebody coming in, those that follow the Route 66 pages on Facebook, I like to follow him as a business owner, and just, I'm always curious about who's coming through. The last question was which towns to visit that has the best neon, and we were listed, and I think Williams, Arizona, were listed, all three of them. There's only 2 towns. I'm not, when the consultant came down, he said that we can take these investors and just tell them this is something we want and they'll do it. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I see that's a borderline extortion thing. But we do have an ordinance that requests that type of a guideline and makes it presentable. Also, parking lot entrances should be highlighted to easily identify from Route 66 through the use of landscaping, architectural features, and/or signage. The following exceptions are permitted in the Route 66 overlay zone. Freestanding on-site signs in the Route 66 overlay zone may be installed to a height of up to 45 feet. Signs in the Route 66 overlay zone may include flashing or revolving lights, beacons, or simulate flashing or revolving lights or beacons through mechanical means within 50 feet of a residential district, provided that such signs are shielded or positioned to prevent light and glare from significantly into the residential area. Building mounted signs may be mounted on or extended above the roof or parapet of a building, provided that such signs are shielded or positioned to prevent light and glare from significantly in residential areas within 50 feet of the sign. And I want the sign part's a big issue as well, because we're also trying to find, we don't want to infringe on freedom of speech, but we also want to have a very tasteful presentation for our tourists, our visitors that are going to be coming in. Colorado has I don't know if it's their ordinance or what, but you find the places by the green plus sign.
Yeah.
That's all of them.
And it's very, and they, most of downtown Denver, and it blends in with the architect of the whole thing. You don't have all these crazy big old signs with the, everything. And it really makes it nice. If let's say I had a restaurant downtown, and somebody puts a dispensary for me, I'm next to mine, and if they go with all these huge billboards, it'll make my restaurant, even if it's a very nice restaurant, look awful. And I think that's important. We have to respect those who have also own business right now.
I'm not sure if this was from I want to say this one was from the town of California.
Yeah, Corona, which is on Route 66,
Yes.
and that's at Cannabis.
They have legalization cannabis. Now they highlighted one spot, but I would like to read the paragraph under aesthetics. Okay. Now we don't have to. The important part is going to be one that Commissioner Moy is going to enjoy hearing. The future of cannabis businesses would be located indoors, typically within existing buildings, avoiding impacts to scenic vistas and highways and visual quality. However, future development that could occur in the community associated with cannabis businesses could impact the visual character or quality of an individual site. Future development would be required to comply with the city's design guidelines and standards, 2012 comprehensive plan and Route 66 overlay zoning code, which all establish requirements for compatibility with the existing development pattern and character of the area. The use of rail cars, storage containers, and temporary structures is permitted.
It's permitted, not
Prohibited.
Prohibited, I'm sorry. Prohibited.
I go, no, not us. I said, not us. I go, not us.
When you
Why'd
want
you let me
rail
do
cars,
that? Compliance with these standards would ensure that the future development would feature quality design and architecture and would be compatible with the character of adjacent uses. In addition, the proposed ordinance sets regulations for hours of operation, outdoor storage, and display of cannabis products and views from the public right-of-way. Compliance with these regulation standards would reduce impacts to a less than significant level. The reason I want to read all of that, because that leads into a nice situation of where we want to put, a lot of this is what we were discussing before we even got our committees together. The big part is, and we've got to have, whether it's a small amendment in our overlay zone, the railroad cars and the storage containers.
Yes, definitely. That is not part of our architecture or the history of the community as far as Route 66, downtown, the early development of business down there. That's really will destroy our historical architect that we have.
Yes.
Reviving that overlay zone and putting in these new amendments would really start preserving and recreating that feel.
Now, I was in discussions with Connie, Loveland and Scott to a point too, today, when she had printed these up and highlighted these spots for me. She informed me that our business district or historic business district technically isn't protected from this stuff in the sense of somebody coming in and doing what they want with the building. So I was hoping that we could try to work that into this as well. She's going to be getting with Rhea. I advise them, why don't they get together, look at the overlay zone and edit it to where it includes that and then present it for us.
The plan is, when we did the Route 66 and we did the architect part, and I suggested we do an addendum. That's when in the addendum we can do it.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking.
Oh,
That we keep it, I mean.
keep
like
it the same
downtown,
as they have to, yeah.
Keep it almost like the same way that the town was at the beginning, or the Route 66 area, you know what I'm saying?
Well, doing that and just reviving our Route 66 overlay, I think is going to save us a lot more time. It's actually really good. It was really thought out. Whoever typed it up and wrote it out, it was done really well, and I think it will protect us, but we definitely have to revive it and utilize it in order to make it effective.
And one of the things that we should put in there, that we must have the blueprints when submitted, I mean, before, that is submitted with your license. You know, we have to have the blueprints submitted with the license.
Yes. And also, you know, when it comes to these, you know, we've all had questions already about, you know, how people are going to have their businesses and the buildings and all that. People need to rest assured the state will be inspecting every business.
Oh, there.
You know, the CID will be, it's not anybody local, the state's going to be coming down. It's like if I was to get my suppression system inspected by the fire marshal, it's not the local fire marshal, it's the state fire marshal. There is a lot of stuff, from security to sanitation, everything. They're going to be coming down, and so these aren't going to be fly-by-nighters. The people coming in, they've got to buy their properties, they've got to have the money to do this. You know, there's no loans to start this business up.
Well, it's a good investment, because if you buy your property, you're committed to the business. If you rent one, you just dump the thing and leave, you know what I mean?
Yep.
We certainly don't want that.
So the last thing I had on, and this came up at the end of our meeting, and this isn't nothing set in stone. This last night was the first time we brought it up, and we discussed it, and we actually had a few good ideas for it if we're able to do it. And that's a licensing fee, a separate licensing fee for it. And several of them in the committee thought a $2,500 licensing fee yearly for them to maintain their business license here in Tucumcari would be sufficient. That $2,500, if at all possible, some of that percentage should go to our police department to cover some of the extra costs we're going to have right away when it comes to security and stuff like that. There's little things that we can actually utilize some of that money for. And then of course, there's some that has to be obligated, you know, for the sole purpose. But, you know, a lot of people have come up, we don't have a police department to take care of all this. And in a couple of years, we may have that money due to this to be able to increase our police department. This could be stuff, they got to get training. The chief had already mentioned that it's an expensive training to get our police officers up to par for what's about to happen with the legalization of cannabis and people driving under the influence and stuff like that. We can possibly utilize these fees to help pay for that training.
Yeah, and actually, it justifies itself, because this is a separate industry, and it should not be on the regular taxpayer's back to increase our police department and to enforce it. When we can tax or the license, I mean, not tax, but increase it, add it on to the fee of the license, and that's more fair to everybody then, because it's a special industry that's coming.
Yes.
How did we reach to the 2,500 mark?
Those would be my
Some
questions.
investors said they thought.
No, actually, Al was talking about that. He said that that's a common number of what other communities are doing on the fee. Is that correct, Mr.?
Yeah, the current retail license fee is $2,500. So assume that we could go up to $2,500.
Is there a separate fee for for something that was coming in and growing or something that's coming in processing?
There's
That's
different
state.
categories, yes.
Okay, so there's a different fee
But the
per,
most common, the one that I could walk into is a retail license, and 2,500 is what I gotta pay. So this way, a high number would deter investors that are doing box cards or not interested in, for the long haul, you know. And the ones that are genuinely want to hang around can afford it.
Yeah,
They
you
can
said
help with the training, like, yeah.
And actually, $2,500 is not that much if you're gonna, because that kind of industry is very expensive. You better have money, a minimum of 150 to get started, because that's expensive stuff.
that's not counting buying the property.
No, and that means, I mean, there's so many regulations by the state, on how you're going to secure the building, how you, do the whole layout of the building. That's gonna come right down from the state, and you better have money to do it, you know what I'm saying? Plus, and the license 25 will probably be cheaper than what the state's gonna cost you, because state will, also mandate a fee for license.
yeah, 'cause I mean, certainly I'd want us to, be conducive to business, but not sell ourselves short at the same time.
Well, the consultant had, like we were saying earlier, they had said we can request all kinds of stuff, and these people are probably gonna do it. I feel uncomfortable with that, but I don't feel uncomfortable having it out there for every, straight across the board, hey, this is gonna be your licensing fee every year. And, I know so much goes to the city, but I think, well, actually, in essence, it all goes to the city. But I think we should have some of that, a percentage of that go toward our police department for training, because there's gonna be more training involved now. And yes, we're gonna have to increase our department, over time. And if we wait till the GRTs and the little extra taxes they're gonna give us, it's gonna be, we're looking at a couple of years down the road to see, I've been saying this from day one, 5 to 10 years, we'll see the benefits from what we're doing now. We need the extra training in police department prior to that.
So just for clarification, is that for a business license?
No, yeah, for
Or is it
business, yeah,
separate
business
from
license, no,
business
the
license?
business license for the county.
Okay, so we're gonna have to first see if the state allows us, because as of right
They're
now,
capped.
a brick and mortar business license, you cannot charge more than
Yeah, but we're saying,
$25.
then you have the $35 for the regular business license, but if I wanna put
So
it.
that was my point of clarity.
Yeah, that's right, I'm sorry, that's.
Separate.
It's a separate fee.
It's almost like a fee in order to be able to come in and set up my
Right, it's
business.
an additional fee, kind of like,
Mhm.
the alcohol.
Well, like getting a food permit,
Right.
I have to buy my food permit.
Yeah, and
before I
alcohol,
can-
you have to buy the.
The license
Yeah.
before you can get the permit, or the business license.
And, let's see what I was gonna say, that's sorry.
I do have a question.
Oh, what I was gonna say is, if you look at the state right now in the medical cannabis, if it was to be open for bids with the state, in order for you to submit a bid for a, medical cannabis license, it's $10,000 application fee with the state. So I'm sure the state's gonna be out there with that, and I think 2,500 is not gonna be that bad. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I do have a question. So if the fee is $2,500, is that gonna be per license? For example, if my building does growing, processing, retail, do I have to get 2,500 for each? Or is it gonna be one stop?
I don't know, you brought it up.
I assume that it would have been just one stop
Yeah,
license for,
Well, that would
That
be for,
entity.
that would be for all permits that you can put under that.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm suggesting, I can't say much for the commission, but I'm saying, like, for example, when you go into a place and say you're gonna get all the permits, then it's $2,500, but they say, that's up to the commission to look at it, and I suggest that maybe if I was gonna just do growers, but not dispensary, maybe we can go lower on that permit,
Okay,
because
so,
actually, we're not gonna be, after we produce our stuff, then we sell it. And so it would be a lot easier, and if we lose our crop, then we're not crying too much, you know what I mean? Because, yeah.
understood. So I'm assuming that the commission would work on separate
All
levels
that, we're
of
gonna.
permits. Second question is outdoor consumption areas. What's the thought on that?
I think we're gonna have to follow whatever the state uses in the guideline.
yeah, because I think, as we saw last night, a lot of people are on the fence, or I myself, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure, this is new to us. And as far as I know, I don't know about California, but we really don't have anything to look at and see how that's gone, because Colorado they don't have the smoking lounges. Now, they walk around sometimes, walking around smoking like the whole areas of, smoking zone, but it's not legal within their laws. But, that's just, I think, on that issue, I think it'd be best if we just wait to see which direction the state's gonna point on that
But
first.
if the state does it and we have to come in and do it, then we're gonna have to mandate some sort of filters.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, because if I have a house next door to a smoking shop, I don't want it coming into my swamp cooler,
But then when you go out on the patio, there's not much of a filter.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I think
Yeah,
we're gonna have to work something out.
because at this point, the state hasn't given us investors the information on what kind of building they want. Do they want a rectangle, triangle, or circle building? Until
There's
then,
real strict
you know.
regulations on that. I mean, on the medical cannabis, because I looked at all those,
I'm assuming they're gonna follow a lot of the same
same,
principles.
same, specs.
Yes. Excellent. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Leif, did you want to add anything? Scott?
I have nothing.
Anybody else?
Lila's here.
Lila's not gonna say anything because she didn't know about the second meeting either.
Give me your number when we get done here, okay?
You have my number.
Well, sometimes I got a lot of other things going on. I'm trying to go down a list of people. I've got about 20 people who want me to call them for the meetings. I apologize.
Is there any way we can post it on Facebook or through the city hall? Because I'm constantly checking all of that stuff to see when the meetings are. Is there any way because everybody, all of us businesses, we have a lot going on in our lives
I
right
know,
now.
I believe me, I know. I'll do my best at trying to post it on Facebook.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything?
Sounds like y'all are working hard.
Well, and the whole deal is that we're looking at hoping getting all by August so that people can just start working on it,
So you're gonna get it on the agenda for the next meeting for us to vote on
On
something?
on the zoning.
Okay.
And now we've got a direction to go with.
Yeah, and we got some good stuff, like, that we can follow and kind of guide them.
Yeah.
Especially the box car, I like that one.
Having permit?
Not the guy,
Well, like for instance, if Al wanted to do 3 different types of whatever processes and paid $2,500, but somebody else only wanted to do 1, they should have a lower, I would think, a lower fee. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So
And I think the state might have the same thing on
Okay.
their licensing, because there's 3 different licenses.
Okay.
You got
And
the,
this was a fairly new topic that came
Right.
up just last night, so.
Well, my opinion would be that the different processes, the different business types would need their own individual licensing fee.
yeah,
So if you're wanting to do all 3, there's gonna be 3 different fees rather than one big
well,
one.
no, if you want to do all 3, yeah, 1 fee, you're right. Yeah, that would be the maximum would be 25.
So is there a set Wednesday when you have meetings or just,
Well, we've been trying to do them before the commission meeting.
okay, so twice a month?
Yes, well, right now, we're looking at next week having one. We were waiting for, actually, we were waiting for this information.
Yeah. That's correct.
So, we'll probably have another one next Wednesday.
The 30th?
Yes. We were hoping to get this information. We thought we'd get it. It's gonna take us a little bit of time to get it, and Connie called me up and she had it. So we went down, so I was able to get it up here tonight.
Good.
So-
Yeah, no, the sooner we get this thing out of the way, the better off, because then we have a state, some sort of guidelines for anybody who wants to become an investor.
That's all I have to report.
Mark, do you have anything else we need to talk about?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Maybe some of the people on the,
Anybody out there have anything they wanna interject?
whatever. No, all I have to say is that I feel like the direction this committee is going is really good. I feel Commissioner DeClanis is doing a good job on it. And I think this is the most fairest way to be able to get that information out there for those who want to really get into the business.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
Retail, I do agree with the $2,500 licensing fee. That's pretty fair.
Mhm.
It does need to get lower as it goes into growers, but we're paying $18 a plant. And if we can house 4,000 plants, that's quite a bit of money.
A lot.
And we're hoping that the city keeps that licensing fee considerably low. So,
My recommendation as the commission, I can only speak for myself, is that the 2,500 would be, the top. You
for
know
the,
what
for
I
the
mean?
retail.
Yeah,
storefront
right to
only,
the end.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree with that. That sounds fair.
And then what you say on the growing, what do they,
Like, we have to pay per plant, so it's $18 per plant, after we go 1,000 plants. And the facility that we're thinking about can house close to 4,000 plants. So 4,000
Wow.
times 18,
that's a lot.
Remember, the state will be limiting how many you can grow up for the first up to 2026.
no, and then you can purchase more.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, well, whoever your suppliers are,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Okay. But, I mean, per permit, it's only 200, I think.
So there's also, producers, like we'll be a producer, we buy the raw material, process it,
Yeah.
package it, sell it. We're assuming that license fee is to be very reasonable also.
So you are recommending 3 separate fees, so the 2,500 being the retail, a lower fee being the growers, and a lower fee being for
Producers.
producers.
There's also micro, businesses, there's also.
But what I was saying,
Careers.
if we're really gonna be friendly, I think we have to be careful, but let's say, for example, I wanna have the dispensary, and I wanna do the growing, and I wanna do the manufacturing. Now we got 3 different fees, now I'm already past 2,500, you know?
Well, why don't we take that 2,500 and divvy that up between the 3? So say, well, no, that won't make sense, not after what we just
No,
said.
Yeah.
but what we can say is if you have all 3, we can give you, I mean, I don't know what we can do there, but what I wanna do is I wanna be as friendly as we can for production as well as for retail selling and manufacturing. I think we have to because we want to see this industry succeed.
Yeah, there's gonna be more retail shops than manufacturers.
Yeah.
In your research, have you seen where municipalities have charged additional fees for processing and growing?
I have not seen that, but that is an opportunity, maybe it's something our attorney could look
Maybe we
into.
can ask the consultant when it comes to.
Yeah.
It'd just be interesting to know
Yeah.
how other municipalities are handling
We don't wanna be.
those other processes.
Yeah, we need somewhere where it'll be fair for everybody.
I was saying it's gonna help us incur the cost of some things that's gonna hit us all at once, that we're not, no matter what we do, we don't have the money to be prepared for.
So Mark, what kind of impact are we looking on our wastewater from marijuana?
So it depends. The thing I've heard, from our wastewater superintendent, he doesn't want any discharge into our system. It needs to be self-treated. We have quite a bit of issues right now with the cheese factory. And, my thought, best case scenario would be some kind of industrial discharge permit like we have with the cheese factory. We need to make sure that if there's any chemicals, if there's anything going on that's gonna be an increase in nutrients, an increase in nitrogen, anything that's gonna adversely affect our wastewater plant will be an issue, because that's a knock us out of compliance with EPA, so
Well,
we'll
I
have to be
think,
careful.
Colorado, you have to treat your own, water that you use if you use it like in an indoor grower tank. I think you're responsible to, you know, almost like,
The breweries do the same.
yeah, the brewers do the same, you know, and it's almost the same category that I think the state's gonna mandate, you know what I mean?
Some kind of self-treatment
Yeah.
process on site, that way it's clean by the time it goes into our transfers, our general, wastewater lines.
So they would treat it on their end first before releasing it over to us?
And if it's, and I'll be honest with you, if you wind up treating where it does not, the pH, what is the pH thing, whatever it is, so it won't kill the bacteria that we utilize at the treatment center to dissolve the solid. If we have it at that level, I'm gonna be honest with you, because of the way we design our treatment plants and our grants for the treatment plants, it can absorb a lot more because we did the planning on it being able to take more intake if it meets the specs. We're not talking like the cheese factory or anything. If it's not treated, that's a different story. But if it's treated and meets the specs, I think the treatment plant can handle it because we pretty much, we plan for the growth of this community.
Yes, if it's clean, if it's treated on site, like Commissioner Moy was stated, we average around 400,000 gallons per day. Realistically, we could increase that up to 1.2 million gallons per day, because that's what our designs for. We're twice the capacity with hopes of, you always want to account for growth. You want to account for when we were talking about the racino, whether it's a new industry like this, we have to be able to have that available, which we are. As long as it's clean, we can handle the volume, the increased volume. We can't handle an increased burn if it's not treated on site.
Okay.
So that the increased flow, where would we allow that water to go?
The increased flow would still go to the wastewater plant, and it actually may even help us because the thing is, we have the same infrastructure we did when we had twice the population, and you have a lot of vacant houses, so some of those pipes are not getting water run down to them. And I get this, it's in the commercial districts where we typically have flow anyways, but some of that clean, treated water could actually help negate some of the bad water that we receive, so it's not a bad thing.
And when we got the ethanol plant, one of the biggest problems we had with it is, and it's next, that's why we put it next door to the thing. One of the biggest problems is they have to treat their water. That's why they have those ponds out there. And when they released it, they would go into those ponds, and then eventually, if it was to the point where it would go into anything, they would. There were times when they would let the hot water go in and kill all the bacteria. But because of the way the treatment plant is designed, you know where it's coming from. You know, if it's from this part of town, that part of town, or wherever it is. So you kind of have an idea of where to go to find the person, I think.
You can trace it back?
Yeah. So you can monitor who's not doing, obliging by the rules or the ordinance that we have. And we had that problem with the ethanol plant. A couple of times they shot that water in there and it was so hot it killed all the bacteria. And then we had to really go back in, replant the bacteria, we do all that work. And it kind of malfunctioned the plant for a while. But I'll tell you one thing, that you know where it's coming from.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, then we're adjourned till commission meeting, which is just
We're adjourned for 3 minutes.
a few minutes.
Run to the toilet, get it over.
Your recorders, please.
Yes, mine's off. Oh. Red button.
The button number to the red button on
I'm
the top.
excited about it. I really
Oh,
like
this says
to see
recording.
more people in town.
So I have grading, guys.